Hello and welcome. My name is Elena Sinel and I am your host for today's Teens in Action Forum. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you all to discuss what is very pertinent in today's world of AI, and it's the topic of ethics. Some of you might already have joined us for some of the previous ethics topics. So we decided to end 2024 on a very ethical note. So here with me today, I have two amazing speakers joining from Capgemini, the company that is sponsoring this action forum. So those of you who are new to Teens in AI a multi-award winning social impact initiative. We got launched at the United Nations AI for Good Global Summit back in 2018. And we have now reached over 18,000 young people across the world, as many as 95 countries worldwide. We are a team of very passionate advocates for ethical AI. So it's really amazing to have Capgemini joining us on this journey to really champion and pioneer ethical and diverse AI. So in today's session, we are going to be talking about generative AI, its applications, its ethical concerns. We're going to have a workshop discussing ethical dilemmas within generative AI. And of course, you will have time to ask questions and give feedback on this session. So before we dive in, just a very quick note on how we will run this session today. Definitely keep an open mind, be curious, ask questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question, so please do ask your questions. We're here to help, and we have the most amazing experts today with us on the call. Don't hesitate to share your ideas. This is a judgment-free zone. Respect everyone's opinions. Let's keep our discussions positive and constructive. And lastly, let's stay on the call to make sure we wrap it up on time, of course, but stay on the call towards the end so that you can hear about some of the discount codes that we're offering as part of our festive season. And now transitioning onto the speakers, it's a real pleasure to have you both join us, Yash and Nidhi. It's over to you. Now, do please introduce yourselves. Tell us what you do at Capgemini, and of course, all of your insights as part of this session on the ethics and generative AI are very welcome. Let us begin.
Sure. Thank you very much, Elena. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. My name is Yash Sowale. I'm with Capgemini from last 12 years, and I'm the CTO for Insights and Data Group of Capgemini in India. I'm also the architecture head globally for Insights and Data. And I lead a offer called as Ethical AI Flying Squad for Capgemini. And I'm very delighted and very thankful to Teens in AI organization for giving this opportunity. And this is one of the topics which is very close to my heart, and I'm very delighted to share it with the next generation, the Generation Z, and also would like to hear your thoughts, your questions about how do you perceive as the next generation about what is the impact of the generative AI in your day-to-day life, and where do you see it is going to be based on your experience with the outside world. Thank you. Nidhi.
Hello, myself Nidhi Agrawal. I'm based out of Bangalore, India, and I'm part of Capgemini I'm working as a senior lead architect in Insight and Data. I'm working in the DDCX view. And so I would like to hear from you about how your experience with the generative AI. And we are going to give you a glimpse and the best practices which we should follow when we are going to use the AI in our routine life. So as today we are going to talk about the ethics in AI. So how the AI will build the future by following the trust, transparency, and fairness. So that's how we are going to proceed with this today. So I want to start first from the what is ethics. So ethics is moral principles that govern a person behavior or the conductivity of an activity. So I should say in the Gen AI era today, when you are using the chat GPT or when you are using the any social media platform, so you have to be careful about the sharing your PI information. You have to be careful about what content is giving to you. So all these practices used to introduce about ethics and that we have to follow in AI. So how in the as an industry we used to follow for our clients when we are using their data and how we provide our services. So that's we are going to talk about it. And these are the things which we have to follow. Like we should not share our personal information. We should keep our password protected. We should keep the we should conduct ourselves into the AI word, in the WW word, whatever we are typing or whatever digitally we are providing into the word, that should be having some kind of safeguard and guardrail should be there to go when into the WW word. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is about we expect some machine to mimic the human behavior. That's what I should say. The technology which can mimic human behavior is all about the artificial intelligence. Machine learning, so machine which learns from the data. So continuous learning used to be there, then only we will get the expected results. So machine learning talks about learn from the data and give the result which is more accurate and it's near to the one human. If the task is performed by one human, then it should give the near result to that. So that is machine learning, which is important, and that gives the, I should say, the backbone of the AI. The deep learning. So nowadays we are talking about the generative AI. So generative AI generates the content. So it's about the machine learning plus the neural network combination. So I should say that human brain behaves exponentially well. Why? Because we are our nervous system, our humans, our brain is built up of the neurons. So when we combine the machine learning with the neural network, then it will generate the contents. It will give the pattern recognition. We can have the image recognition. So these are things, are examples part of deep learning. Let's talk about the Gen AI. So I think most of you nowadays must be using the ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot to get the information what you are looking for. So it generates the text. It gives the answers of your questions. It gives the images what you want as per your prompt, as per your questions which you type. Nowadays, you can see that lot of documents also you can generate. If you want some kind of PPT, if you want to present in your school, if some kind of notes or document you want to produce, that also can be possible through the generative AI. Even you must have seen that some kind of audio videos are popular into the internet, which is mix of the lots of data which is available in the world, and generative AI is continuously learning from the available data and producing the more creative content for you, and which we can utilize for ourselves in a day-to-day routine. So that is all about generative AI, I should say. So in fact, when you go into your career, if you are looking some kind of the source code, if you are a software engineer, so software engineer, so it can something, the code is very common, and you just need to plug in your business logic and you can generate the source code as well. So it is helping the technical people as well. So you can use it, I think, the almost in every aspect of your life. I should say that every area of day-to-day life. So classical machine learning and generative AI, what is the difference? So machine learning just used to learn and it identify the patterns, and accordingly it used to give the results. And then prediction used to happen because what I have as a history in my data, accordingly I learn, I train my model, and then I give the result. So I should take the example, suppose weather forecasting, I should say. So if suppose the last year data or last 10 years data, if I learn, if I have the history about it, what the machine learning used to do, it learns the patterns. And as per the patterns, it predicts the next year in this month, what will be my weather, what will be the temperature of this particular day. So that is kind of prediction behavior. So till today, before the generative AI, we were utilizing the machine learning in this way. With the generative AI now, what is happening? It's not only learns the patterns, it learns the continuous data. It incorporate others data as well, and it generates the content to you. So it's about generating something which you can utilize directly. So this is the difference between machine learning and generative AI. So one classical machine learning example, like different type of, you can see the musical notes here, the Mozart, not Mozart and all. So kind of, if I am storing in kind of musical files into the data, then how it will return me as what it has into the history. If I want to compose anything new, then it will learn from the previous data, and it will predict, and it will give me the new notes as per that. But what generative AI will does? So AI will learn the all the kind of data, Beethoven, Mozart, rhythm it will take, it will sense the what musical notes are there, and accordingly it will give me a new piece altogether. If I'll take the 10 singer voices and 10 composition of the song, it's going to give me a new composition for the for the new song, and new composition it's going to generate. So that's how I can generate a new audio file by providing the different audio files, different rhythm and composition into the system. So this is one example.
So Nidhi talked about how the generative AI is different from the classical general AI, and we also talked about what are the different opportunities to use the generative AI. So as you can see on the screen, it's multifold. You can use it for audio, visual generation. You would have seen the movies where we use generative AI, and a lot of studios are using generative AI instead of using like VFX, for example. And recently there was a news about some of the organizations are using AI to write the technical or their mainstream articles as well. So the effect is very pervasive, and we also see it in software industry in terms of code being generated or contextual data or synthetic data being generated, even architecture being generated, or the test cases, test data being generated. So that was one part. On the human interface side, we see that you already must be using ChatGPT for your research work. So the Q&A, the summarization, and then exploding a single liner into multiple lines, creating the stories or job postings, material postings. So talking about the material postings, one of our client is a large global company, and they came to Capgemini about creation of a GenAI-based software where they can automatically create marketing campaigns for their multiple product lines, from cosmetics to soaps to ice creams, and also the daily needs like cleaning products, etc. So earlier they have almost 1 billion customers in the world. So when they were dealing with those customers, they had to create marketing campaigns in the local region by in a specific language by product line. So for a team of like few people of the marketing department, it was taking almost 2 months. So we created a generative AI engine for the content generation and summarization. And then we added also automatic posting of that advertisements into Facebook, for example, or Amazon or Flipkart in India. So they were able to reduce the time from 2 months to about 3 days. And I will share the video at the end, but this is the power of generative AI. So our engineering colleagues in Capgemini are also using it in the product design for engineering space, from semiconductors to the medical devices related requirements to the engineering product to mechanical engineering, civil engineering, etc. So the method for learning for you as teams is to understanding how AI finds the patterns. How do you do the pattern mining? So we can think about something which is unanticipated. So if you train the generative AI on those unanticipated strategic scenarios to learn more, to learn more clearly, and then we can also learn in an unsupervised way where we are not giving any clue to the GenAI. It treats everything as a black box and itself tries to find the appropriate patterns. So it is doing the event pattern mining, and then it is learning. So it is taking the knowledge, it is creating the events. From events, it is gathering the strategic information which is required to learn the tools. Obviously, we can use the decision rules. We can punish or reward the AI for learning in the correct way or learning in a wrong way. That is called as reinforcement learning. There are several other learning methods because generative AI is very expensive. So we look at already pre-trained models, we look at alternative training models. So that is the gist of the different capabilities. So today's session we are going to talk about those impacts. So one of the major issues that we see in generative AI is the hallucination and the toxicity. So you would have read about the Bing search engine early last year, started giving very responses which were very kind of arrogant type responses. So there was immediate fix deployed by Microsoft, and we see the effect of hallucination. So a lot of times you might get a totally unlinked output because it doesn't have the context. It doesn't have the the knowledge about the domain, etc. So that is one of the biggest risks of hallucination. Then because AI is becoming so powerful, so if you talk about any new generation Gen AI model, it has billions and billions of parameters. Becomes very difficult to control that, and the performance is the issue, cost is the issue, stability is the issue, then finding the people to deal with that kind of corpus is the issue. And also, if you train AI only on one part of the population, it's a kind of elitist data. You're selectively feeding it only the part of the data from the general population. It will obviously reproduce the bias. So there was a lawsuit against one of the social media companies where they trained the face recognition only on the people like Caucasian people. So when it was used to detect the faces of African people or some of the Southeast Asian people or the Eastern Asian people, it gave a lot of errors. So that product was shut down. And Microsoft has also come out with a product called VAS, which also generates the faces, but they are not going to release it to public because of the reproduction of bias issue. So for companies like us or companies like similar to us, there's a risk of reputation that we're going to impact the bottom line. We are going to impact reputation. There could be a legal lawsuit, or there could be AI being used, which is using somebody else's copyrighted matter. So we have to be very, very careful. That's why Capgemini has come out with the 7 ethical AI principles, which you can Google and find on the Capgemini website. So we obviously don't want to lose the competitive edge by not using generative AI, but we have to control the risk. We have to identify strategic risk. We have to identify the architecture, technical, legal, ethical, and cyber ways of controlling the risk also. So it's a balance and it's a trade-off game, which becomes much more important. Then we enter into the generative AI world. So this was deep learning examples, which I talked about, the recommendation engine, the associative pattern mining, and also the clustering. So all of this is obviously the base for generative AI, but we have to, our topic is about the ethics and trust in the AI. So there are areas which are must-haves that we have to use them for the benefit of the society, also organization, people, public, governments, is the privacy of not using somebody else's data, not leaking the data. And then the fairness means equality, equitable application of the outcomes to what people are going to use, then sustainably giving the outputs without burning too much of energy. We also need accuracy, otherwise it can endanger people, it can endanger the profit, it can create a legal risk. If, for example, you are creating an e-commerce site like the company I talked about, and your system crashes on Christmas or Thanksgiving Eve, obviously that AI is not robust enough. So how do we securely handle seasonal variations of demand, larger demand, like demands going up and down based on the seasonal factors or based on the event like Super Bowl, for example? It must be dependable. So AI should not always give its opinion when it doesn't have the enough knowledge. So it is also called as, and the system will not degrade the performance, because then you will not get outcome in the required time and somebody might use a wrong outcome. Also have a sensibility in how the outcome is generated. That is the explainability part. And then we have to extrapolate. If you have only a smaller data set, so we can use like a zero-shot learning, we can use pre-trained models. So a lot of things we can do in terms of the technical means, but we have to keep in mind that humans should be safe. It must be in the people's best interest. And the outcome of AI should match the human expectations. So that is the takeaway of this slide. Very, very important for us to understand as a user, as a designer, as a producer, as a consumer of the AI systems. So how do we handle the bias? Like, that is one of the questions you will see. And earlier I talked about data coming from only elite sources. Like, you go to only commercial sites, which only like hiring people or medium income people are using. So you'll not get the data about the poor people. You might not get the data about the people who are like living in the forest, for example. You may not get the data about people who are in the like a disadvantaged section of the society. So what we have done, we have created a fairness tool, and it's called Glassbox. It also does the explainability of explaining how the outcome is reached. So it will check whether all the dimensions of the data are represented, like gender, race, religion, national origin, color, creed, disability, genetics. And then we use that to train the data, so we can have a very comprehensive, expansive data set available to create the modeling, available to retrain the model, change the model, do the scoring, learn from the human inputs, and then create the inference. Inference means the outcome, or create the output for the users. And then we can highlight if some groups are not adequately represented. Then we can highlight that some outcomes are good for a particular segment of the society. And then we also put a threshold. Otherwise, if you put too much of precision, so a lot of times you have to also think about the cost. So you need to carefully plan about the cost as well as the performance. So this is a trade-off that we see. So again, this is one of the important areas that is emerging. And as a user of the AI tools, you will be obviously getting into these aspects of AI. So one of the areas which is very important is to also look at how you're not giving like a abusive output or a arrogant output to the user, especially when you are talking about the controls. So this is one example from the Microsoft company about controlling, putting the guardrails about how the content is being generated. And we can put filters for hate speech, adult speech, violence, self-harming situations, and we can also control the degree of tightness about how the outcome will be generated. Again, one of the very important part of the ethics, because this has a direct human impact on the dignity, on the profession, also on the usage and the behavior of the person who is going to get impacted. Okay.
So this is one of the project we have done in the Capgemini. You must have heard about the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. So with the partnership of FAO, we mix the satellite data and with the ground reality data. And we figured out, okay, when the fire could trigger into the forest area. And with that, we have given our predictions and kind of we have saved the forest area and we have killed the probability of the more deforestation. So it was a kind of announcement that, okay, in the 25, the 15% deforestation will be there. And by the 2030, it will be 30%. So the technology should be used for the betterment of the future, and the sustainability is the most important thing. So it's not just about the day-to-day activity which is there in our life, but it's about the we have to think about the nature as well. So AI we are using in the for the sustainability area as well. So this is one kind of example where we are using AI. So what we are doing, we are mixing the data from the satellite. We are taking the data of the satellite imageries, and in the ground we are checking. Okay, what is the fuel or moisture is there in the soil? Any human activity, because of that, the lighting of fire is possible. So we are planting the kind of cameras or sensors there which can sense the fire, and even if any voice or any audio is there which reflects or give the signal of the fire, then it adapts and it gives the immediate signals to us, and then accordingly we can take the immediately action. So this is the way it works. So you have to mix the both kind of data, spatial temporal data and your ground reality data. So that's how we have done this.
We'll open the panel for questions. Yeah.
Amazing.
As well as from the
Amazing.
students.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Thank you, Nida and Yashi. So we're open to any questions that you have. Please type them in the chat and we will be asking them to our panelists.
I see someone here has raised their hand. Perhaps they'd like to ask their
Yes,
question.
they can actually unmute themselves. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask that question. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions to the panelists about the ethics of generative AI or anything that perhaps you want to clarify? I certainly learned about some very interesting case studies that I have not heard about before. So it's really great to see AI being used for impact. Amazing. Thank you. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I see one last question about
the evolution.
what
Yeah.
is the AI glass box that I mentioned. So it's not glass door, it's a glass box. So glass box is a tool which is used to measure the fairness of the algorithm and the explainability of the algorithms, how AI algorithm or the component has reached to a particular outcome. So it uses multiple algorithms like SHARP or LINE, and it is like a checkpoint-based framework to see that all the data sets are being considered, and also the each data element is treated fairly. Some data elements are not dropped from the training. So this is a tool offering. It has multiple tools. So combined offering is called Glassbox. So you can do Google AI Glassbox Capgemini. You'll find the PDFs about this tool in the public domain.
Amazing. We have another question. How will AI evolution affect future job opportunities for computer science students? Who wants to take that?
Yeah, I can take it. So it's a very valid question and very important one for the students in particular. So definitely there are jobs which are going to change. So a lot of new types of jobs are going to open. So one of the job role will be the prompt engineer. And if you have heard some of the OpenAI people talking, so one of the person is called Andrej. So he said English is becoming the new programming language for the world. So the prompt engineering also will require good knowledge of English, good knowledge of the domain, good knowledge of questions and answers being written in a particular way. So prompt engineering is one of the new types of job. Then we'll have guardrails engineer, people who prevent, the example I showed about the content filtering, people who can prevent guardrail attacks or prompt engineering, or prompt injection attacks. Then there are obviously GenAI architects, GenAI testers, GenAI admins, GenAI related functional architects. So new types of job for the machine learning algorithms, for the large language models, small language models are going to open. We have to be prepared in terms of technology and the domain knowledge to take up such jobs.
Amazing. I had no idea the advice my mom has given me when I was a teenager was learn to speak English and then the world will open up to you. So it goes back to the same, right? But
Yes,
lovely.
yes.
What advice would you give to the young people? What advice would you give to your children if you have them, or to the young people on the call? What do you think they should be focusing on apart from English? What other skills?
So I talked about the point about the domain knowledge. So try to excel in at least one domain, and try to also learn the language very deeply, like Python, for example. I'm just giving one example of Python. So Python can be used for the data pipelines required for the generative AI, and Python can be also used to develop the GenAI related code or deep learning related code. So you need to know one language in a very good, deep manner. You need to know about one particular domain. May not be very deep, but you need to know about domain so that you can know how to apply the algorithms. And obviously, mathematics is the background of all of this. So also good knowledge of mathematics, for example, data structures, different algorithms, right? So these are the three basic things I would strongly recommend practicing.
What
And
about Needy? Needy, what advice do you give to your own little girl?
I want to give this that, okay, if you want to proceed into the AI world, the like Yash suggested, the very first step is to learn the programming language. Because any kind of automation, if you want to proceed, so first thing is like you have to play with data. So playing with data, you have to do a programming. So that you can interact with the backend system. So you have to first understand the how the automation is happening, how the all the components are talking with each other. And as a because you are a very young, and it's going to be a start for you, so better to start with the programming so that you will get to know in the ground how the practically the things are happening, how the dream is becoming the actual, so it's coming into the real. So when you will learn that, okay, this algorithm I'm developed in this language in this way, and this is my result, and this much effort is required, then you will able to extend your maturity and your ideas in more bigger level, and you can think of a lot of different use cases, and you can give a lot of things to the world actually. And you can give a lot of ideas to the world and industry as a fresher, because you can think in varieties of being into this industry. We used to think most only into the one direction, but in your age you struggle in a lot of things, you face a lot of things in day-to-day life, so you can come up with very good creative ideas. So just pick up one idea and do it yourself. Keep the DIY is your formula. Do it yourself. And you have a lot of technologies like ChatGPT and a lot of stuff. Through that, you can learn the language and just implement your idea and showcase to industries. And
Amazing.
yeah,
And
we
we've
used to
heard
have the internship options as well. Sorry, Elena.
no,
So
no,
because
that's okay. Yeah, carry on, carry on. We need to know all about internships, definitely.
yeah, so Capgemini provides internships also. If you are interested to have the internship into the AI or GenAI area, you are very much welcome. you can contact us and we will provide you the proper context, how to apply and what is the process. So, yeah.
Amazing. So we have a question on ethics, Nidhi, for you as well. What are the ethics behind using AI in medical research, and what are your personal thoughts on it?
Yeah, so as you can see in USA and a lot of other countries, the personal information about the health related information, the health reports, I should say, the blood reports, that should not be come out. Means like these are very sensitive data. So these are the PI data. So when suppose I am kind of doing any research to invent any drug into the healthcare side for any critical disease, I should be sensitive and be responsible about it, that what data I am consuming, and I'm not supposed to expose any PI or consume any PII data related with that. So obviously, if I'm going to invent any kind of drug, or if I want to release any kind of guidelines for to my patients, so I have to be careful about it. That okay, when I'm inventing something, whatever data I'm consuming, it should not be a PI data. So that I have to follow as a ethics. And I should be transparent also about it, that okay, what sample data I'm taking and from where I'm taking up. So the globally we have to follow some kind of rules. So if I'm in a US, I have to follow the CCPA. If I'm in Europe, I have to follow the GDPR. So as a company or as an industry, we are bounded to that. Even anyone into the healthcare or any other industries, when they come up with any kind of automation, they have to follow those rules and regulations before going to invent or ingest any kind of data for anything. So yeah, that's what is the one thing I need to take care about it.
Amazing. Any other questions from the audience? And if not, then I will keep asking questions. I have lots of questions. I have just a couple left that I wanted to ask you. So I definitely would like to know your views on where we're heading with AI in the future. What are you excited about? And what are you most skeptical or maybe a bit more fearful about when it comes to AI, Nidhi? And I'll probably go to Yashi with the same question as well.
Yes, I used to be very passionate about the sustainability. I feel that technology in the world should use for the betterment. And nowadays we are facing few issues across the globally actually. Climate change, that is the one major issues we are facing. So to if that is, I should say that should come as a first priority, and we are heading towards that. And as a Capgemini, we have seen that we are doing this, and a lot of other industries also working on this direction to reduce the carbon emission, to increase the forest more. So how we are doing it. So I feel like that. I feel that AI can use the and consume a lot of data, and we can leverage the satellite images data. We can use the ground reality data. So to provide the more better solution, to have our natural resources planning in a better way, to plan our land use also in a better way, to plan our towns also better way, to plan our infrastructure also in a better way. So a lot of underdevelopment countries don't have the proper schools in a proper distance, or the primary healthcare also is not available. So all these plans can be generated through the generative AI by utilizing a different kind of data. So that's how I should say, the after generative AI, it's a lot of hope is there to work into that direction and to make our life more sustainable. So yeah, that's how I feel we are heading towards that into the sustainability area. I should say the healthcare side also, the lot of critical diseases are there, like cancer and all. So I have seen that it's in very beginning stage, but few articles I had and I went through that people are able to predict the cancer cells before it comes into the human bodies. People are able to predict the heart attacks before it happens to the person, because of their reports, because of their past health reports, and because of their other data which they have from the other patients. So that is like, I feel like very good inventions by using the AI. And because India, like countries, we have seen a lot of diabetes and heart attack cases. And underdevelopment countries, we are seeing, due to the population, sustainability area and planning is not happening in a proper way. Due to that, lot of other challenges are there. So I feel these two directions, a lot of invention is going on. Over to you,
Amazing.
Yash.
Amazing. What about you, Yash?
Yeah, so Nidhi covered a lot of topics already. So one of the few of the emerging trends that I see. So there was a question about the jobs, right? So AI augmented human creativity is going to be the future, and AI is not going to replace humans. As you can read the authors I mentioned earlier in the chat, but AI is going to help humans to get quickly to outcome, and it will also help in creating hyper personalized experiences, such as ads. It could be product designs, it could be media, and then AI is also going to come into physical environments, generative AI. So it could be manufacturing, it could be robots which are adaptive in healthcare to take care of the geriatric patients, for example. And then obviously AI is also going to go into the ethical and responsible AI. So there is a research happening on, I talked about humble AI, is one of those areas that is going to emerge. So just in the interest of time, so future opportunities will be general purpose AI. It will be collaborative human and AI. And one of the areas emerging is neurosymbolic AI, which is one of the areas of research, and self-learning models without depending on humans, but also keeping human in the loop when they generate outcomes. And AI for global good, which I think Teens for AI is also associated with. It's one of the very noble initiatives that is going on. Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. No, really great responses. And just as I thought we would be closing the session, another great question came, which probably could be the very last question, which is the last one. Yes, you can see, how do you think we can incorporate AI in poorer areas to improve outcomes, especially in the field of medicine? Like Nidhi mentioned, we can use AI to predict cancer or even strokes. So how do you recommend AI be integrated into poorer societies, or if they even necessary in a world focused on AI? So I think that would be a really great question to wrap up our session with.
Okay. So just to clarify, the question is about how generative AI can help in healthcare in the poorer countries, right? If
Poorer
I
areas.
understand.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very good question. And one of the things and which we might remember during the pandemic times. So initially, when the drugs came in the market for coronavirus, they were very expensive. So this is one of the areas there when there were some genetic drugs were also discovered, and some vaccines were created by different governments all over the world to distribute to the poor countries or poor regions. So delivering the cost-effective solutions, improving the accessibility, and addressing the resource gaps. Those are the three key areas that GenAI will help. And let me give you an example. So even in India, if you see the radiologist penetration in the diagnostics market, it is one radiologist per about 1,200 people, which is should be actually 5 to 6 times. So the branch of telemedicine based on the generative AI, where medical Gen AI, so there are some models in the Hugging Face AI repository, which will do the medical AI disease prediction. And they also do follow-up disease reporting analysis. If you come, let's say, with a cancer, stage 1, then what happened after the chemo or after the surgery? So they can follow the progression. And one of the algorithms I mentioned, the proportional hazards, was also used in a similar manner to see what is the change in the patient based on the like tremors in the body, or based on the voice quality, or based on the breathing patterns. So this is going to help in the poor regions, and we can use AI to create synthetic medical image to get to the drug discovery much more faster, right? We can obviously do virtual health assistance. We have done this for one of the European companies, where instead of waiting for doctor, for example, in the UK, you have to wait for in the NHS to get the appointment. So there could be AI-powered chatbots which can understand the tonality, understand the question, and they will not give the medical advice about the drugs or the injections, but they'll give you about nutrition advice, basic medical advice, and local healthcare contacts, or the nutrition recommendations, obviously, which have to be cross-checked with the doctors. So this is the second area. And then personalized treatment plans, because doctors are so busy, they don't have time to do the personalized treatment plans. So this is the last area which I think is going to benefit for the poorer regions, apart from the predictive analytics part, which Nidhi talked about. Thank you.
Amazing. No, that's really brilliant. So, of course, we have a lot more questions coming through, but we don't have time. Unfortunately, I have to wrap this up now to be respectful of our speakers' time because it's getting late where they are. So, I'm just going to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon or evening or morning, depending on where you're joining us from. And Nidhi and Yash, thank you so much for your time and your expertise and this incredible session. It's an amazing way to end our 2024 on this ethical note. So we're going to be sending some further details to everyone who joined. I know we have people joining us on all sorts of different media, on YouTube and LinkedIn, and I know you will be receiving messages from us as well. You can be learning about all of this online with Teens and AI and so much more. Of course, even prompting ChatGPT, there is so much to learn out there and through so many different mediums and forms. But stay in touch with us, and goodbye from all of us from Teens and AI and Capgemini as well. So it was really great to have you join us. Thank you so much, Nidhi and Yash, and we'll stay in
Thank
touch.
you.
And
Thank you.
thank you once again for your time.
Thank you so much, Arina. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
all the participants to join us.
Your expertise was really, really appreciated. And thank you for all the brilliant answers that you've given to the questions that young people have been sending. And I think we had some university students join us as well. So lots of amazing questions. So thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you.
Thank you.
evening.